Hello and welcome to my review of the 2020 Honda CBR1000RR-R Fireblade SP, something of a mouthful. This is a very important bike for Honda. Not only is it their flagship sports bike, but it also bears the iconic Fireblade name. Back in 1992, when the original Fireblade came out, litre sports bikes were pretty unwieldy and very heavy. They kind of shook the market up quite a lot actually. They released the original Fireblade. It was 185 kilos and it had around 120 brake horsepower. It shook the market up and there was vicious competition in the years that followed. Yamaha fought back with the R1 and it kind of paved the way for the sports bikes that we see today. Now, if we skip on 28 years to where we are now, this bike's actually got heavier than the original one. So it's 201 kilos, still very light by today's standards. 201 kilos, but instead of 120-ish brake horsepower, this now produces a staggering 214 brake horsepower. This development and this progress comes at a cost. The original Fireblade was £7,500, whereas this one comes in at £23,500 for the SP model, £20,000 for the non-SP, and I'll go through the differences between the two models in a bit, but you're effectively looking at 3 times the price of the original model, which even when you take into account inflation is quite a jump. Now, part of the reason for that is, especially this year, is they've redesigned this from the ground up. Honda have really gone to town on it. It doesn't share too much of componentry and design from last year's model. I'll give you some examples. So firstly, you've got the engine, redesigned, lighter, more compact. The bike itself's got a longer wheelbase, it's got a longer swing arm, redesigned exhaust. The riding position itself is markedly different. Now you might think a litre sports bike should be quite big. I'm 5'11", okay, so average height, and you can see me size-wise comparison to the bike, it's not big. I'll tell you that straight away, it's not big. The Honda have gone for a more track-focused riding position on this bike, and it's evident straight away. Okay, what they've done, technically what they've done, they've amended some of the geometry. They've dropped the bars at the front. They've raised up the seat height and they've pulled up the pegs and pulled them back. Okay, so what that means is that the position only really starts to make sense if you pull your bum back, get your head down in the tank, and then you're in that compact racing riding position. Normally speaking, I mean, you're looking at the dials coming down through the screen. It's only when you get your head down that you look at them the way it was intended. I'm going to give you another example of the sort of attention to detail and little areas they've changed. The ignition barrel is no longer here on the tank. It's been moved around to the side. And the reason for that is they can increase the size of the ram air. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be a vet with a cow, look at this. I'm not sure why you would wonder that, but my arm goes all the way through. Must take in a huge amount of air. Anyway, let me talk through some more of the detail and get out on the road with this bike. First up, let's have a quick demonstration of the engine and exhaust sound, because it really is a fantastic sounding bike. Now let's talk about the SP model and what your extra money gets you over and above the standard Fireblade. Firstly, you get the quick shifter as standard. It is an option on the non-SP model, but it comes as standard with SP. You then get Brembo front brakes, so that's the calipers, you get the master cylinder and also the brake lever. And they're fantastic on this bike, absolutely amazing. On the non-SP, you get Brembos on the back, but you just get the Nissans on the front. Finally, you get the full electronic O-Link suspension. Okay, now that's got multiple adjustments you can make, and you can change this on the fly. It's designed to give you increased feel, stable dampening, predictable behaviour, etc, etc. And as you can see it working here extremely well on pretty uneven surfaces. I recently rode an Aprilia Chirono 1100 factory model with a similar suspension, and it was great there, and it's fantastic here as well. Really, really good. You do pay for it though. You know, there's a lot of money. There's a big difference between the SP and the non-SP, but fantastic suspension. Both bikes have an electronic steering dampener, ABS, and all the other sort of things you'd expect to find on a model of this type. Additionally, and just to back up its track credentials, it also has something called start mode, which is effectively launch control. What you can do is you can set an adjustable RPM, 6,000, 7,000 RPM, something like that, hold it on lights. As soon as lights go green, dump the clutch. It will not allow the revs to go any higher than that until you hit certain criteria, like a certain lean angle, you hit the brakes, or you hit third gear. Okay, so pretty useful in a race series, I would imagine. Additionally, there's also a lot of diagnostics, so it will record maximum lean angles, maximum speed, that sort of thing. Okay, so it's just, like I say, it's really backing up this bike's track-focused attention. As is normal these days, there are riding modes, and in this case there are 3 of them. Or 3 preset ones anyway. So you've got rain, sport and track. Now you can make adjustments within these, you're not fixed to their parameters that come from the factory. So you can change the power output, traction, wheelie control, engine braking, and then also you've got the suspension, which I mentioned before. So there's a lot of options to play with there. And this is accompanied by its 5-inch TFT screen, which has quite a lot of options for customization, I must say. Really, really impressive. So you've got various things that you can change. You can change the analog rev counter to a digital one. It can loop around the display or just go flat across the top. You can change the settings for what's shown around the screen, so sort of temperature, all that sort of thing. Really good. It's fantastic. You can pretty much customize this to exactly how you want it. I just want to make one more comment about the design features and this kind of attention to detail that I touched on before when I spoke about the moving of the ignition barrel, and that's the rear hugger. When I collected this bike, I looked at it. I was, you know, there's a massive cutout here from the rear hugger, which looks nonsensical because it's there to stop all sorts of dirt and rubbish hitting the back of the bike. And how good a job is it going to do with a big cutout? Well, I'll tell you why it's like that. The cutout there is all to do with airflow. So it's been in an air tunnel, and that's cut out there to release the air that's channeling up from underneath the swing arm. Okay, and it's just one more of the things I've looked at. Minor details, which when added together can make a big difference. So what do I think? Well, firstly, I mean, it'll come as no surprise, this bike is supremely confident. The Fireblade's always been a good bike, and this doesn't change that formula at all. My issue kind of stems really from that point though. This bike's got very long gears, especially first and second gear. It will reportedly do, I've seen motorcycle news say this will do 140 miles an hour. 140 miles an hour in second gear. I've no reason to doubt that claim. But what that means is, in normal riding, if you're somebody who's chasing the adrenaline of the red line, exciting riding, you are very quickly on the road going to find yourself in prison territory, or at least getting pulled over and having some serious points chucked onto your license. Now, they've said that they wanted to make it track focused and things are different there. However, to get the best performance out of this bike, it really needs to be up near that red line. Okay, you'll still get good performance. I mean, it's got 14,000 RPM red line. Okay, and if you're changing at 5,000–6,000 RPM, something like that, you'll probably get the performance of a 600. I don't know, you know, I'm spitballing here. You'll get good performance out of it, but you're not getting the best performance out of it. But to ride it on the road, as I said, if you're chasing that red line, you're going to be doing crazy speeds that are just not suitable for the road. You shouldn't be doing them. On track, however, that's a different kettle of fish. Okay, I suspect you'll need to keep that bike up near its red line in order to get the best performance out of it. But at least you'll be able to do it there in a safer, legal environment. Other than that, in terms of the cost, I mean, we spoke a bit about the cost at the beginning. Now, you can say it's a lot of money, but it's broadly comparable. If you compare this, if you look at the Ducati Panigale V4, if you compare this to the V4S, it's about the same amount of money. The V4 is about the same amount of money as the non-SP Fireblade. So, you know, it's a lot of money, but it's not crazy huge amounts of money. Okay, they're there or thereabouts. Similar performance. You know, the money's there or thereabouts. It's in the right ballpark, I'll say. So, like I say, phenomenally capable bike. I'm just left with this nagging feeling that it's too much for the road, or at least not too much for the road. I mean, you can ride it perfectly sensible, and it will ride down at those low RPMs quite comfortably all day. You don't have to hammer it, but as soon as you do, you're going to be doing speeds which will land you in trouble very, very quickly. Okay, so there you have it. I hope this review was useful for you. As always, thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.